it's Michelle from Scrap Secrets. Welcome to the Same Set Syndrome Hop for July. The stamp company that we chose for this month is Not Too Shabby, and this is the stamp set that I picked called Summertime Buddies. Here's a sneak peek of the card that we're going to make together in this video. So the first thing that I did was I took some Bristol Smooth cardstock and I stamped out 3 of the images, the dog, the cat, and the sun. Now, I stamped it out with Catherine Pooler Midnight ink, and my ink pad is really juicy, so I like to usually leave it dry overnight or hit it with the heat tool. This I let dry over the weekend, so I knew that it was fine and none of the colors would smudge with the ink. So I'm using Prismacolor colored pencils to color in the image. I'm just doing some very basic coloring. I'm taking Gamsol, which was released from Time Out. I liberated it because in one of my last videos, I left the cap off and I spilled about 3/4 of it all over my desk. Well, anyway, so how you use Gamsol is you put a little bit of the colored pencil down, you take a blending stump and put some Gamsol on it and then blend the color out. It makes the harsh lines that you can sometimes get from colored pencils, it smooths them out. You can also blend colors together with that, but we're not really doing that because the images, there's tiny areas in the image. So what I did was color the top and the bottom of the tube and then leave a little bit of a white highlight in the center and pull that color towards the center. Now, I showed you the tube for the dog, so I figured I'd show you the coloring of the cat. I just laid color down where I thought it would be the darkest, which would be right where her ears and her head meet and then around her chin, and I pulled the color out from there. Very similar to what I did with the tube. Again, nothing fancy, one color blend. It really isn't, not much highlights and things like that. I did go back into the cat's head and I added little lines. I have 2 tabbies and they have kind of almost like stripes on the top of their head, so I wanted to just add that little detail. But that's pretty much all the the multiple color blends that I did on here. I really didn't do as many as I would normally do with colored pencils or even with Copics. So you see, I just, very basic coloring. I will go in and put some pink on the cheeks and on her nose and her ears. And I did use the blending solution just a tiny bit to pull the ears out. But really, those are such tiny areas. You don't have to do that. But, I just decided to do that because I had already had the blending stump and the Gamsol out. So that's the cat being colored, and then I will color the dog off screen. I went back in and I added a little bit of the pieces of the tube that I had missed. I wasn't sure if it was their arm, so I waited until I colored everything, and then I went back in and colored those pieces. So now we're taking a yellow colored pencil and coloring in part of the sun. I'm going to do the same thing with the blending solution and the stump and just kind of pull the color in. Even though I colored the middle a little bit, I'm actually going to go in with an orangey yellow and go around the sides, so there's a little bit of a highlight still, again because the sun is a round object, and pull that orangey yellow in towards the middle, leaving the center that yellow. And then we're going to do the rays the same way. We're going to put the darker color on the outside and then pull, the inside, and then pull it towards the outside. Again, very, very simple blending. I actually put this in my scan and cut and had the scan and cut cut out all 3 of the images instead of fussy cutting because it was just so much easier. I don't know if they have dies for these. I don't think I saw them, but I wasn't really looking because I tend to not buy dies, but the scan and cut these out very easily. I also took my white gel pen and put some dots on there. You can't really see it in the final product, so I probably would have skipped this step, but I just thought I love the 3 little dots on characters, so thought that I would add that. Again, making sure that I covered my Gamsol. Now this is a stencil from Courtney Krieber's Create and Inkspire, the first kit for July. And this is the Grass and Clouds stencil that I wanted to use because we're going to create some sky. And I apologize again for the little bit of shaking that you'll see in this. So now, since it's only clouds on one side as opposed to the MFT one, I kind of had to shift it, and you'll see there's a little blue line, but it doesn't matter because that piece is actually wider than the piece that we're going to glue this to. So I just wanted to create a little bit of a different look for the clouds. I could have cleaned it off and flipped it over, and it would have given me another look to it, but I didn't think of that until right now when I was doing this voiceover. So we're just going to be using Tumbled Glass for the sky, Tumbled Glass Distress Oxide for the sky. That's a makeup blending brush. I probably would have used a smaller one, but I didn't want to clean off anything. Again, I was just being super lazy. So I used the brush that already had the blue ink on it. So this piece is the piece that we're going to do for the background. We're going to have a black card base, and then this is going to go on top of it. So now I'm going to use the Sandy Shores, I'm actually going to use the Distress Oxide and kind of go around the edges. This is the vintage photo. We're going to go around about 3/4 of this panel, and that is a 4 by 5¼ inch panel, just to give it a little bit more depth. And you can see I tried to use my tea-dye Distress ink. Distress ink. I really need to get a new one. It's pretty much dried out. It's probably the first Distress ink I ever got, so it's years and years old. So now we're going to use the Honeybee Stamps Sandy Shores background stamp to create some texture on the background to make it look like real sand. I used MFT's Chocolate Brown hybrid ink to ink it up, and then I'll ink it up again with some latte ink, and kind of double stamps, but then it just makes it look like there's more grains of sand down there. This is one that I wouldn't worry about if it moves a little bit. It just gives it a little bit of a textured effect, more of a textured effect, I should say. So you can see that I don't really care about the top of it because we're going to put the cloud piece that we stenciled on top of that, and then there's also a piece that I have left over from another project that I did. So now we're going to glue the cloud piece down. I meant to leave it hanging off on both sides, but I didn't. I'm taking some Distress Oxide in that vintage photo and going over it because I think that some of the sand, like the little pieces of sand, were a little bit too dark, so I just wanted to make it a little less harsh. And I'm going to take my ATG and run the glue over top of it, glue the piece down, and then take my Tim Holtz scissors. They're the ones that have the tonic ones, the ones that have the really, really long blades to them that cut very nicely. And they are serrated on the sides, so you will see a little bit of, almost has just a little effect on the side, but you can't, unless you're looking for it, you don't notice it. But I do love these scissors a lot for cutting pieces off the edge. And you'll notice that it's crooked. So now I'm going to take the water piece and try to glue this down. I'm going to take my ATG and put glue on the back of it and just try to straighten it out a little bit because I didn't realize how crooked I had that piece. And you'll notice I'm trying to match it up so that it doesn't look so lopsided. But it's handmade, that's what happens. So now you have a beach, you have the sky, and you have the sea. I am going to stamp Stay Cool from the stamp set in that chocolate brown MFT hybrid ink. I'm going to ink it up a couple times. I think I ink it up twice and stamp it down. I've never used the stamp, so sometimes you need to prime stamps. When they're new, they may have a film on it. So sometimes you need to prime them or stamp them more than once, which is why a stamp positioner like this Misty is so fantastic. So stamping that out, and then I'm cleaning it off, putting it back, and then I need to find the characters because I put them on my desk and they somehow disappeared. So I am going to use my MFT On Point Precision Glue to glue the animals down and the sun. I also did go over the sun with the Spectrum Noir sparkle pen just to give it a little bit of shine, because I thought, there wasn't much to this card. I feel like everything was kind of flat on there. So I thought that giving it a little bit of shine or sparkle would help the look of it. So again, that's the MFT On Point Precision Glue, and just gluing everything flat down. I didn't pop anything up. You could have done die cut inlay for this to piece it all together, but I just decided to put it on, my background. So gluing those pieces down, and then I'm going to glue that to the card front, and the front of the card is done. The only other thing that I did after I glued the panel down was I did work on the inside. I'm trying to do the inside of my cards a little bit more because I feel like that helps finish the card off a little bit. So I am trying to do that more often than not. So you'll see that I'm just clipping off the edge that I didn't cut off before, putting it on the black card base, and it is a side folding A2 size card. So the card panel is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and then the panel inside that craft panel is 4 by 5 1/4. I'm just using Time for a Break and then the drink on the inside. Now, I'm not pressing too hard on this because this is the Sweet Tooth pigment ink from MFT, and if you press too hard with pigment ink, it will kind of make the image spread. So I just stamped it once because it's stamped very well. And that's the card for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have comments or questions, please feel free to leave them below. Hit the subscribe button, and I hope that you enjoy everybody's card on this hop. Here's a picture of the card and the stamp set, as well as the inside and the stamp set. I'll see you guys again real soon for another video.